for coming today. Got it. All right, guys. My name is Christopher Cole. I am in the corporate office, and Megan, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but we're actually going to be in the more, so no more of this remote work for I think for anybody. Actually going to be in the office here shortly. But anyways, I'm out of Colorado, work on the Remax side, and today we're going to be talking about Kvcore. And this one for those of you, I want to capture everybody where you are. So for those of you that are just starting out, that are, as we were talking to Bobby, if you overheard that, some of the best practices, some of what to do, what to avoid, some of the classes, some of the tools that can really help you move forward, and some of the smoke too. I like to make sure that people understand it's a really big platform and not everything's important. There's a lot of stuff that, yeah, you do want to spend a little bit of extra time on, but there's some stuff that, yeah, it's not going to move the needle for you. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We got a lot to cover, so I'm going to push forward. If you don't mind, guys, if you have questions, drop them into the chat bubble inside the Zoom call. Oh, also, thank you all for joining on a Zoom. I had Ring Central does not play well with my Mac, so it was not going well when we tried to use that platform. Guys, the goals for today, really what we're looking to do, and what I'm hoping you all get out of this is, no matter where you are in the process of onboarding, that you feel comfortable working with your consumers, buying and selling homes with your audience, whoever that is, using Kvcore. So that's the goal. Is today you will be comfortable using the platform for all your communication, being comfortable bringing everything in, a little bit of an understanding of what that means, what the CRM looks like. All right. But bottom line is, have you comfortable once you get out of this class to be able to use the platform to buy and sell houses? What Kvcore is, some of the, this is one of the fundamental questions I get a lot is, what is the platform? So many people there, they hear about the class, they hear about this thing that's there, it's going to replace all your other things, save you money, but what is it? And I like to show the next 3 slides to kind of give you an understanding of what the platform is. This one's very, very busy. Suffice it to say, the platform pretty much does anything you guys are going to need. Any of the stuff you're doing in your business now, the tool can replace. This platform is going to explain, or this slide is going to explain how the platform really works, where things are derived from. At its core, it has a dashboard. When you guys enter, and I'll show you where we're entering, the dashboard is your central spot to control everything. In my live trainings, I like to explain to folks, this is where the UI, the user interface, started, and used to be years ago, before there were computers. And I go way back, guys. So before we had all this great computing power, you had your actual physical desktop, and you had your inbox, your outbox, you had your giant calendar on your desktop, and people would come in and drop cards on your desk or give you sticky notes, and that was kind of your to-do list for the day. And it's the same thing with these, with what they call these UIs, with these dashboards, these electronic desktops. That's what they're all derived from. So when you first get into Kvcore, just remember, use the comparison that this is the same as your physical desktop. It has the stuff that's most important. It has access to all of today's work. It has the tools to be able to call, to schedule appointments, pretty much everything you need. Okay, so that's what this slide represents. Now, I think this one's more important, guys, and follow along with me here. Pretty much everybody that's gone through real estate school, I think this one was developed in the 60s and 70s. This is pretty old, and I like it because everything about this not only represents what you're currently doing, but represents what Kvcore can help and can leverage for you, some of the weight it can lift for you guys. I use the example, I'm a first-time home buyer. I walk into your home, somehow I meet you. You guys, you set up a prospecting tool. There was a get-together, you had a booth at a fair. There's some way that you were advertising that you got me in the door. Walk up to you, Chris Cole, first-time home buyer. What do I need to do? At that point, you're talking to me, you're getting my contact information, you're putting that somewhere. So we all have some form of a CRM, and it may be paper. We may still be using business cards and Rolodex and just putting a ton of paper out there. We may be using our phone. We may be using a combination of several. And that's where most of the agents are right now, is they've got a combination of 3, 4, 5 things where they're entering this data. Okay. Point being, Kvcore can help do this lifting. You can get these prospects in electronically. The system can grab them. It can set up the prospecting, and it can bring the leads in. Okay. The conversion of the leads. Chris Cole, first time home buyer. You guys start talking to me. You start finding out, Chris, are you pre-approved anywhere? Who's your lender? I happen to have one. How much down do you have? Where are you looking for homes? How big of a home do you need? All that work you do on the front end to convert this person into a client. Kvcore also has the equipment, so it has the tools that will do that work for you. We can set up the conversations that, let's say you set up a landing page that is geared towards first-time homebuyers. When they come in, the system is smart enough to trigger campaigns, and the campaigns can do things like send them your favorite lender. It can send them information about, hey, this is the top 10 things you need to know as a first-time homebuyer. So you can have that stuff that you're doing manually now, you can have that be done automatically and electronically. Okay. Then you've turned the client. So at this point, Chris Cole, first-time homebuyer. I like what you guys have shown me. I like the steps. I'm not overwhelmed. You've explained everything great. Now I'm your client. You're servicing the client. That means you're sending me homes. We're going through open houses. We're making the, sometimes endless offers, counter offers, inspections, all of that stuff, all that work that you guys do, the legwork you do. Again, Kvcore can help with some of that heavy lifting. So remember, as we're explaining, as we're understanding what this platform is, it's basically a tool to help you electronically help do some of the heavy lifting with all the work you're doing anyways. And the last one you see here, when you see marketing, it seems a little strange that it's marketing instead of close. But the point is, once you close a deal, you're just beginning the relationship. And now I think I probably met quite a few of you when I was in the office a couple months back, but in my tours and my trainings, I've been doing a ton on site. And it's been interesting because I'm getting a lot of real estate veterans that are coming to the training. So I think people realize that the market's different. Times are different. This is pretty much unprecedented what's happening now. And people need to take advantage of some of the tools they have available to them. They need to save money. They need to stop using 5 or 6 things that cost them maybe $200, $300, $400 a month. Point of that is, the reason the marketing is at the end, that's when the relationship is just building, so you've closed them. Hopefully you've done a great job. You've gathered testimonials. You're putting that on your website. So Bobby, when we were talking about the website, that's one of the low hanging pieces of fruit that we want to make sure that's on there. We're hopefully going to be working with them for years. So we work with the husband and wife. If they split, hopefully you get both sides of the deal. You get the kids, you get the aunts, the uncles, etc. So point being, that's part of what Kvcore does, is once you close, the system is going to start chatting and start working with these people and making sure that that relationship stays solid. So keep you guys top of mind. So that's a better explanation of what Kvcore is. All right, guys. Now, what we're talking about in this training, we're basically going to be talking about the first 4 pieces of the onboarding checklist. Okay. Now, those of you that haven't seen this for a while, let me move over to what you'll see on the live drive. What I just showed you, that's here in the launch checklist. So for those of you that maybe haven't launched yet, maybe are in the beginning parts, this is what's going to pop up. You're going to have a screen that looks very similar to what you see here. Now, the point of this is, these are basically the steps. If you look at all 6 steps, these are what it takes to get truly working with Kvcore. Now, to be proficient with communicating with your consumers, with getting work done in the system, really, once you get through the first top 4, you're golden, you're good to go. The system, however, has some depth to it. So if you want to start doing the marketing in here, if you want to really start pushing the campaigns, that would be some of the more advanced stuff. And we will offer advanced classes. Okay. So that's something that Megan and I will put together for you guys. And if you've sat down with Megan, she does a really good job of pushing those last 2 as well. But basically, we're pushing for the top 4 of these today. All right. Now, guys, one of the crazy important things, there's a few issues, a few items that if you get nothing else out of this training today, they'll still help you along. And this is one of them. This is the profile. So if you get nothing else out of today's training other than to realize that, oh, should go in and I should clean up my profile a little bit. That is a big deal. Your profile lives in Mac Center. So this is in your Remax .net account. And that's where you access most of your Remax tools. It's where you access your profile, your bio, etc. The point of this, guys, is pretty much anyone you work with. So let's say it's the old school scenario. I found you guys at a booth somewhere. You were at a fair. I met you. I am still more than likely going to Google you. And one of the first things that's going to show up when people start to research you is the bio will show up that's attached to Remax.net. It's very, very important, guys, that you make sure that it's clean, make sure that the photo is new, it's high glossy, it actually looks like you. I love my pictures from 10 years ago, but they don't look much like me anymore. So it's important that you get those updated. The bios, guys, you can update the bios to drive SEO. So you can update the bios to show specific communities that you work in. You can even update them to leverage what's going on in the market right now. So say something along the lines of, I've worked in difficult markets before. I understand the difficulty of converting to a higher interest rate. That kind of stuff. You definitely want to make sure that you have some of the basics in there. If you speak separate languages more than English, make sure that that's in there. If you've won awards, make sure those things are in there. Okay. Now, of course, this is a Kvcore class. The bio feeds all the way through Kvcore. So pretty much anything you're going to be doing in the system, your bio is going to follow you. Everything is branded to you, meaning that once you drive people into your website, it's going to be all about you. So it's not going to push them to anyone else's site, but it's going to be counting on the information that you put in your Remax.net. Okay. The settings that are on the Kvcore side, we'll talk about these a little bit. Megan can really help you leverage this part if you have questions afterwards. But basically what happens is the Kvcore system, the CRM, pulls in your bio from Remax.net, and then you have to do a few steps to get fully on board. Make sure the signature block goes out with any kind of communication you do with Kvcore. All right. Your MaxTech powered by Kvcore. So I mentioned this a couple times already. This is your Remax.net. This is where you get into all tools Remax, guys. So this is where you access Max Center powered by Kvcore, which is your Kvcore tool that we're in today. This is where you access your profile. This is where you go in and you have all the learning and education blocks. Pretty much anything to do with the Remax world of tech. That's where you go to get to it. Okay. Now, the context in the CRM. When I talk about the checklist, guys, when we're talking about this and we're talking about the basics, one of the most important ones is that you get your contacts in here, okay? And I'll explain why it's so important to be having everything in this one platform instead of working through the 2 or 3 places that you probably currently have them in. There's 3 ways to bring in contacts. You can add them manually. And we will have the homework today, guys. If nothing else, you need to make sure that have your contact in Kvcore so you can learn some of the tools and practice with some of the tools I'm going to show you today, okay? And that's a manual add. I'll show you how to access that and some of the important steps to take there. Then there's the CSV import. Again, we're talking about bringing in your contacts from wherever. The CSV import, basically what this says is if you're exporting from another tool, so let's say you got them in Exchange. You click the export my contact buttons. It's going to say, what format do you want them exported in? That's just a CSV. That's all a CSV is. And then on the Kvcore side, you have the ability to leverage their help, leverage the Kvcore professionals to bring these in. So they'll help you bring the contacts in. They'll make sure they're clean. They're responsible afterwards. The nice part about getting their help is, one, it's done a little bit more smoothly. 2, if they mess up, they're on the hook to fix it, and they're going to do it a little bit more quickly, and we can help you push that. Okay. And then the third way of bringing in your contacts is through outside sources. So this is things like syncing your Google, your Outlook. If you have some kind of third-party lead generation, you can bring those directly into Kvcore. Okay. So I can show you how to do this. But basically what we're talking about here is getting your contacts in, dropping those old CRMs, getting everything built into Kvcore. Guys, another important point before I go too far down the rabbit hole here. We call this class the It's Not Too Late for a reason. This tool has legs, and I think a lot of people were hesitant to launch into Kvcore because they were a little worried that, okay, this tool is gonna go away. It's gonna be a flash. I want to bring that up right away because I'm sure a lot of you, it might be a question that's already in your head, but Kvcore was the top tool. It was the top platform before Remix decided to go with them. We've made a long-term agreement with them. We are vested in this. We really are hoping that everyone can start to use this platform. So yes, it is a very, very good one to say, all right, I'm going to abandon these other tools I've used, and I'm going to adopt this tool. Okay. I see a question here. How can an agent retrieve their sign-in and password to Remax.net? You can get it. There's an 800 number there. So let me launch that. Let me show you really, really quickly. So if you go into Remax.net, you see down here, there's an 888 number. You can contact Remax and they'll reset your password for you right away. Okay. So they can help you with that. All right, guys, what we're looking at here, this is the manual ad. This is what that screen will look like. And we'll spend a minute to go through it once we go on the live drive. So you'll see this a little bit more clearly. But remember, homework today. Get yourself in there as a contact, get your address in there, give yourself permission to contact yourself. So you can send yourself texts, you can send yourself emails, you can call yourself. All right. Very, very important in order to get comfortable with how the system operates. The bulk upload. Now, I mentioned this again. We're still talking contacts, guys. We're talking the way of bringing your contacts in. At this point now, I've worked with a couple people that have over 30,000 contacts. I've got a handful of them, which was surprising. I didn't think I'd run into that many. Those of you that may have that many, even if you've got several hundred, the idea is, yes, you can go in and you can manually upload those into Kvcore. You don't want to do it. We recommend you do this way. So if you'll notice the two boxes, let me move back. This is the do-it-yourself. You see that up here. And there's also a tool of let us handle it. I'll show you really briefly how the let us handle it piece works. But the takeaway here is that Kvcore can help with this. They can help bring in your contacts and help make sure that they're in correctly, that all the fields are in there correctly, okay? Now, sync in your contacts. Remember, I mentioned that there was a third way of bringing contacts in. So we've got the manual ad. We've got bringing them in bulk imports. So bringing in the 10, 20, 30,000 worth in. And we can also connect our Google and our Outlook. Now, the takeaway that I want you guys to have about this is be aware as you're doing it, you'll have choices of how much interaction is there, how much back and forth goes on between my Google and my MaxTech powered by Kvcore CRM. Just be aware of, I might not want to bring everything in. Be cognizant that, yeah, you can overdo it. You don't want to be bringing advertisements from your favorite department store into Kvcore. So be aware that that exists, that you're going to want to dictate exactly what you're bringing in from your Outlook, from your Google, okay? By the way, you can also see your Google calendars within Kvcore, all right? Third-party lead sources. This one, guys, the only takeaway I want you to have here, you can see this slide gets really, really detailed really, really quickly. What I want you to take away from this is if you further down the road have the question of, can I connect, whatever, fill in the blank. Can I connect so-and-so Zillow into Kvcore? Can I connect this lead source into Kvcore? The answer is almost always yes. There's a tool called Zapier that will help you connect pretty much any lead source you have, any kind of contacts you have directly into Kvcore, all right? Reviewing the contact record. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on this, then we're going to go live drive, and I'm going to give you guys some practice seeing what you'll actually be working with. The contact record is the core of your CRM. And arguably, it's the most important piece of Kvcore, honestly. This is where every one of these contacts is going to live. This is where your business lives. This is where you have all the records of the communications you've had with them. This is where you can send things like their property alerts. This is where you can send market reports. This is where you can send your texts, your calls, your emails, pretty much everything to do with your consumers, with your business. This is where it happens from, all right? I'm going to explain what this is a little bit. The contact record is built into 4 pieces. So on the left side, we've got the contact info itself. This is me, so I walked in your door. I'm Chris Cole, first-time home buyer. This is where you're gathering my information. Chris, what's your email address? What's your current home address? What's your phone number? That kind of info. Across the top, think of this as navigating through the tool. So this is getting you through all the files that are in your contacts. You may have had some pretty difficult sales in the past. Maybe there was timber on the property. You had an environmental impact study. This is basically how you access all of that stuff to do with your contact, all right? The right-hand side, this is the communication. So One of the reasons you want to abandon pretty much everything else you're using, one, it's easier to use one tool than the 3 or 4 or 5 tools, but you can basically do any kind of communication you're going to do with your consumer now, you can do through the system, and the system keeps track of it. Okay, so the right hand side is the how we communicate with them. The middle piece, which we're showing here now, this is a history of all the communications that have happened. So if you're sending property alerts, all the property alerts will show here. If you're sending a property evaluation, how much their property's worth, our eval tool, that'll show here. Any communication they do back to you, that also shows here. Okay, some of the important pieces of a contact card, guys, are these: contact status, lead type, hashtag, and source. Arguably, the hashtag is the most important, and we'll explain that in some depth as we move forward. But I want you to understand and be aware of these terms. All right, contact status, this is basically where they are in the pipeline. So think of this again as, Chris Cole, first time home buyer. At this point, you've worked with me for a month. You've shown me properties. I would be over there on the client side. So if you drill in, if you look at this a little more closely, you can see it says client over here. If I'm brand new, if you just met me, I'd be a new lead. The system is going to work with people a little differently based on where they are in the journey. Okay. Remember, we talked about some of that automation. That's why contact status is important. Lead type. Lead type is just one of the important overarching views of this contact. Are they a buyer, seller, or renter? Okay. Most of you don't need to worry about vendor or agent. That's for the admins. Megan needs to worry about some of that. Folks that are working on agent recruitment need to worry about that. But most of you are only concerned with your buyers, sellers, and renters. Okay. Hashtags, we'll dive in deep on hashtags, guys, but remember that they are important. So similar to when I mentioned the profile, this is another one of those things that's really, really important. All right. Source, this is just where they're coming from. All right. Contact status. I want to make sure that you have a good comprehension of what these are. Remember, I talked about these being the pipeline. They're also where you're going to bulk people in. So as you're bringing in all these contacts, they're all going to live in one of these areas. All right. The sphere, this is your friends, this is family, this is people that walk in the door. You know them, their names, you generally know their birthdays. These are people that are close to you. Okay, you don't necessarily want the system sending automation to them. You might not want a happy birthday coming from Kvcore system rather than from you. That's why it's important to have people in the sphere as opposed to some of the other areas. Prospect, guys, I like to teach this with, think of the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. In retail, the Pareto principle means 20% of my inventory makes 80% of my income. In your guys' world, 20% of your efforts, 20% of those contacts generate 80% of your income. That rule pretty much follows us throughout life. Now, that doesn't mean that the 80% isn't important. The 80% in retail, it still makes a big profit. For you guys, the 80% of those contacts, you might not know who they are, but there's still some sales in there. Okay. So pretty much most of your contacts coming in are going to be dropped into prospect, because this way the system can leverage automation. It can leverage long-term campaigns. There's a lot of stuff we can leverage to have the system trying to reach out and turn these people into sales. Okay. The next one we're talking about is new leads. Remember, we looked at that at the bubbles. We looked at the flow list of how you guys do business now. This is a really important step, because as leads come in, we want the system automation to take over for us. We want it, one, to recognize that, okay, this is a brand new person. This is the first time I've ever seen them. I might want to send them a greeting. I want the system to do that for me. I might want to send them some, if they came in based off of a first-time home buyer lead gen, I might want to send them my lender information. I might want to send them some of the basic steps that they'll need to do. And I want the system working on my behalf. That's why a new lead would be important. Active lead. Guys, this is arguably that step between new lead and active lead. This is arguably why you want to abandon the tools you're using now and use the Kvcore CRM, because when the contacts move between new leads and actives, or between prospect and active, between sphere and active, that means that something's going on. They've given some sign that they're interested in either buying a home or selling a home. So some of the automation you've sent to them has triggered a response in them. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, it might not be a bad time to sell my home. Interest rates are scary, but yeah, they made a compelling argument. I do want to list my home. The system recognizes that, and it'll move them automatically into active lead, and it tells you. Okay, so important piece of information there, guys. We'll get into that a little bit more in depth, and I'll make sure that you have a good understanding of what's happening there. Client contract closed pretty much makes sense. This is the work that's going to be going on in the background when you have an active client, when they're under contract, or when they're closed. Remember, when they're closed, that's when the system is working in kind of a slow boil. So it brings back into a simmer. We're sending them things like happy birthdays. The system will send them an anniversary. Hey, it's your second year of being in the home. How's everything? Is there anything I can help you with? That kind of information. All right. All right. Lead types, guys. Pretty straightforward. I won't bore you with a lot of this. The ones we're really concerned with are buyer, seller, and renter. Some of the takeaways you want to have is they can be both. So a lot of your clients that you've sold over the years, you can have them in as buyers and sellers, because hopefully as they move, as they upgrade, you'll get both sides of the deal. But just suffice it to say, this is some basic navigation tools. This is understanding who you have in your contact list, okay? Hashtags. I mentioned the importance of this. So I was in Pittsburgh. It was early July, and one of my guys there, he'd brought in 36,000 contacts. And one of the things he said to me is, Chris, okay, using the system, I want to communicate with all of them. How do I communicate with 36,000 people? And you can't. You cannot communicate well to 36,000 people. You can buy postcards. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Those of you that have been in that world or are still in that world, you recognize how much money this guy would be spending. But we can break them into smaller bite-sized chunks. So it goes back to that old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's where hashtags come in, is hashtags break things into bytes. Okay. I was working in, well, actually your guys' office, Megan, and one of the guys there had done a really, really good job of collecting his neighborhood and his neighbors. And that's one of the places where hashtags are really important, is you're going to talk to that community a little bit different than you would strangers. Your neighbors, you know pretty much what their what their income level is, you know what their homes are worth. They're worth pretty close to what yours is. And you can have conversations with them specifically that will help push buy or sell triggers. All right. That's where hashtags become important. Some of the ideas on the hashtags, guys, your neighbors, search preferences. I want to find my people that I sold homes to 7 years ago, because those of you that recognize where this market is right now, what's going on with the high interest rates, you go back far enough, they won't be afraid of the interest rates, because that might be what they have on their home anyways. If they're looking for luxury, if they're ready for retirement, these are big things that you can do with hashtags. You can set up, again, small search groups on how to identify and how to track your contacts. Okay. Now, important point, your contacts can have more than one. So if I'm in there, if you've got Chris Cole, first-time home buyer, yeah, you might have that in there. You might also say he's 55 plus. He might be ready for a quieter community. He might be ready, let's take it away from first-time home buyer. Now I'm a long-time homeowner. You might say, have a hashtag of tons of equity, heavy equity, ready for retirement. Could be ready to sell his home, buy for cash in Florida. Those are some hashtag ideas. Urgency level, guys. I walk into the room, I say, Chris Cole, first-time home buyer. I got a bunch of money. I want to buy a house in the next 7 weeks. If I can't, I might just travel. You guys have had circumstances like that. You have people that, for whatever reason, this is urgent. This becomes not only the 20%, but the 5%. That's where all your attention is going to be. And you can hashtag that to identify those people. Okay. Interest in hobbies. This is an important piece, guys, because you all develop your tribes. I live in Colorado. I used to hike and climb quite a bit, and I developed a tribe of people that I would hike and climb with. Now, if I were in your world, if I'm a real estate agent, I'm marketing to these folks. I'm selling them homes next to the ski resorts, next to the mountains, next to the cities that have good access to the trails, that kind of stuff. You've all got your tribes that are something like that. And you want to keep note of these people, because we're going to want to market to them. Groups and associations. This is a little bit antiquated at this point. Hopefully some of you are still part of the Elks, the VFW, the whatever. It feels a little bit more like anachronistic, more of my parents and my grandparents' time, but there still are some of those associations that you can help identify people. Now, most importantly, you can see I was pushing through a little bit, guys, because this is an important point, campaign specific. Remember, the compelling reason we want to use Kvcore is it can automate a lot of what we're doing anyways. It can take care of some of the heavy lifting. We want to leverage campaigns within this platform, but we need to know who to talk to. So you're going to talk to someone that's owned their home for 25 years, they own it outright. You're going to have a very, very different conversation with them than somebody that just had twins and they need to upgrade into a bigger home. So these are campaign specific contacts. And that's what we mean when we're talking about all these tools that we can use, all these hashtag tools. All right. So keep that in mind that when we're talking hashtags, we're talking about how am I going to break all of my contacts into chunks where I can communicate with them. Okay. Now I'm going to move over to Live Drive. I'm going to show you guys some of this stuff in practice. First off, we talked about this. The way you get into MaxTech powered by Kvcore is you go into your remax.net login. You use your Remax credentials. So for me, it's my SQL at remax.com. It's your Remax password. If you have forgotten this password, if you're locked out, call that 800 number, guys. They can get you in. And once you're in, you go into your, first off, I want to highlight up here, guys, under my name. If I click down there and I'm in the top right-hand corner, we're in our MaxTech, or our Max Center, excuse me. This is where I update my profile. So if I want to get rid of that silly photo, get a better headshot in there, that's where I can do it. If I want to add that, hey, by the way, I speak Spanish, I can put that in there. And by the way, no habla, I do not speak Spanish. Over here in the apps and tools, this is where you find your MaxTech powered by Kvcore, where you access to get into the platform. So you see it right down here, MaxTech powered by Kvcore. I open that and away we go. It opens my platform. All right, I'm going to close out of this and I'm going to show you what the platform looks like. So when most of you launch in, especially if it's your first time, if you haven't been in much, if you haven't been doing the work, this is the screen you're going to get. So this over here, bottom left-hand corner will generally be collapsed like what we're seeing. But if I click on it, I get these check boxes. Now, guys, if you're past these, no big deal. I just want you, so if that box isn't showing up for you, I just want you to internalize a little bit that this is the overview of what needs to be done to get proficient and to get set up with the platform, okay? Those of you that are still seeing this box, recognize that when you click on them, you get this great little tool that launches. So she starts talking to us.
Completing your agent profile is important.
I've heard her about 1,000 times. So that's all we're going to listen to. But it walks you through the setup for those first steps, all right? So you'll get an overview from talking to me, but Kvcore will also walk you through the important pieces, all right? Now, guys, I promised to give you a little bit of an idea of what's important, what's not important. Now, you recognize here we're looking at, think of your physical desktop. That's all this is. This is just the user interface. They call that the UI, representing a physical desktop. So down here would be cards that have been thrown on your desk. These are somebody walked in and said, hey, got someone you might be wanting to talk to. They're interested in selling their home. They have to be out in 3 months. That would be the contact card that's thrown down on you. You have your objectives for the day. You have playbooks. Playbooks, think of these if you know sports as well. Think of playbooks as kind of the fundamental plays. This is running the fullback, lead, halfback right up the middle of the line. Playbooks is just going to give you some important steps and it's going to walk you through them. All right. Kvcore training, very important piece over here. But this is where you're going to access some of the training available from Kvcore. Those of you that came in early, you heard Bobby and me talking a little bit. She's been taking some of these classes. Really, really excellent way to start learning the program. Up here in the top right, you're going to have your name over here. Over here is where you can access your website. So Bobby, we were talking about that as well, about getting set up with your website. If you click on your name, go 3 down, open that up, that's going to open your website that's associated with your platform. All right. All right, guys. So some of the things that are important here, some of them that are not as important. Basically, today's objectives, you can completely ignore this. This drives you into some advertising that Kvcore does. All right. So let me explain what I mean there. Kvcore is a third-party company, guys. We did not buy them. This was not, Remax learned from that mistake. And we do not own this company. We do not have a stake in them. Now, that means they're a for-profit company and they're going to want to upgrade you. So a little bit like going into the car dealership, this is where they're going to want to sell you the undercoating protection or the better tires. Basically, you can ignore this block. All right. On today's objectives, feel free to completely ignore that. Playbooks, as I mentioned, the playbook section, this is where you can go in and you can learn some important steps for tools things that you'll do over and over again. You'll always promote listings. When you get a listing, you're always going to promote them. Gathering your sphere, that's important no matter if you have 2 months in as a real estate agent or 20 years. You still want to make sure that people that are in your sphere know that you're their real estate agent. So it shows you how to bring these folks in, and then shows you how to work the sphere within Kvcore. All right, more important, guys. So some of the absolute best practices. The first one is you have knowledge now of what this is, how to walk through it, the launch checklist. Okay. This is a very important piece up here. I've moved back over to the top right-hand corner. Oh, by the way, before I move into that, I left this here. This does not always pop up. What I'm looking at right now is it says Discover Lead Generation Tools fully integrated with Kvcore. Join us live every Wednesday. You'll see these occasionally. Kvcore will introduce some banners to you. Feel free to look at them. Sometimes they're important stuff. Sometimes they're trying to get you to buy into something they're selling that's a little bit extra. So beware when you see these. It's not a must do. It's not something like, hey, you got a virus, you need to click here, but some of them can be important. Feel free to just X them out, they're gone. All right. All right. Now we're looking up here in Kvcore training. Again, we're in the Kvcore platform. We got here from our Mac Center, and this is the page that launches. When we look up at Kvcore training, the first one I want you to be aware of is the Agent Quick Start. Okay. Now, even if you're further down the road, guys, even if you've got 3, 4, 5 months of using this platform and you feel very, very comfortable with it, you can use this as a good reference document. So I want to show you the way that this works. Treat this as, for those of you with a little gray in your hair like me, treat it like an Encyclopedia Britannica. This is great to access a few weeks, few months down the road, because it's built on all the tools that are in the system. So if you look at what we have over here on the left nav, here's the setting up your Kvcore. Here's your managing your contacts, getting familiar with your website and listings. Now, I will give you this warning. This is not an easy training to go through. If you were to start it right now, it takes you about 4 or 5 hours. This is not the kind of thing that you want to do as the game is going. You want to have some concentration with when you're doing this. So what I recommend is do one section at a time. If you feel like, okay, I'm through the setting up, I'm good with that. But yeah, I want to get a little bit of a better idea of what the fueling your pipeline looks like. Sit down, dedicate an hour of your time and watch these videos, take the test, go through this training. All right. And again, where we were with that, I'm going to close this out. We're up here at the top right-hand corner under Kvcore training. All right. So one of the best practices you can do is to be aware of what this is, to go through it, to go back every once in a while and do some of these trainings. All right. View training calendar, guys. Crazy important. One of the reasons why Remax chose Kvcore is the support they have in the background. So not just the online real-time support, but the training they have. This is a very, very robust platform. They've been in business for quite a while, and they have built up a crazy good library, and they've got crazy good training for you guys. So as you look through these, and what I'd recommend for everybody is sign up for the Agent Quick Start Part 3. What we're going to get through today is basically the Agent Quick Start Part 1, Part 2, but there's a couple reasons why I'd like for you to sign up for the Quick Start Part 3. Not only does it give you some valuable information, but it teaches you how to use this tool. So you're learning how to talk their language, how to access their resources, how to get extra help from them, how to really, really start to use the tool that we offer you, okay? And that was over here in the top right under the Kvcore trainings. All right, guys, download mobile app. Those of you that may have downloaded your apps from the App Store and now you're having problems with them, that's why you don't want to download your mobile app from anywhere but here. And let me explain what we're talking about. So again, to reset the table a little bit, we're in the Kvcore dashboard. We're looking up here in the top right-hand corner where it says download mobile app. What I'd like for you all to do, if you don't have the mobile app downloaded yet, is open up this window. You see what says mobile app, and you see where it says open house app. So there's 2 distinct apps that are in here. Now, what we mean by app, this is just the application that resides on your phone. It's on your mobile device, and it's the full version of what we're talking about here. So it has its own version of the dashboard. It has your own version of CRM. Basically, anything you can do over here on the Kvcore side, you can do within the mobile app as well. Now, the way that this functions, you go down here. So we're looking at mobile app. You look down here where it says App Store, Google Play, and underneath these are the steps that you need to take to get this downloaded. So I would say text me the iOS link. As long as you have your phone number set up correctly within Kvcore, the system will text you the application. So what happens when you say text me the iOS link is if you've got an Apple device, you'll get a text on your phone that launches your application. Okay. Same thing for an Android. Now, an important consideration is this copy iOS link to clipboard. Here's what that means, guys. Let's say that you don't have your phone number in there correctly. You don't want to have your cell phone number in the system. You have a landline you still like to use. You can still get the correct app to yourself by copying it to the clipboard, emailing it to yourself, and opening it from your phone. All right. Now, that's actually an important step when we're talking about the Open House app. Guys, this Open House app is tremendous. I know even the training I did in your guys' Ellicott office weeks ago, we had a lot of people that were already using this. This is a tremendous tool. To get into the Open House app, basically you're going to go the same place. So to reset that table again, where we were is in the dashboard. We went up here to the top right. We opened the download mobile app. You'd go down here to your Open House app. And this one, you would copy it to the clipboard. Because you're going to send this to a tablet, you're going to send it to your iPad. And most of you don't have a phone number associated with your iPads or your tablets. Okay. So you're going to want to copy it to the clipboard, email it to your tablet, open it up on your tablet, and away you go. All right. All right, guys. So still talking some of the dashboards, some of the best practices. What we've talked about so far is what the dashboard is. It's our starting point for all things into Kvcore. We talked about some of the most important pieces of it. One is getting through the checklist, understanding that the checklist is basically the steps on how to get fully incorporated into Kvcore. We talked about what we have up here underneath your name. This is not only where you can access your profile, where you can access your website. Up here is where you download the mobile app, the importance of the Kvcore training, the fact you can ignore this section. And now we're going to talk about what we have down here. Okay. So remember the equivalent of this is your desktop. This is your to-do lists. So if I'd set up calls for today, those would be showing here. If I'd set up tasks that I need to do, those would be showing here. I can access my calendar from here. You see, there's my Google email account, my Outlook account. So I can access those from there. I can also do some things in my business. This shows you how many contacts are in here. If there's sphere prospect, it gives you a good overview of what's going on with your business. All right. All right. Now we're going to go back here. We're going to look at activity. Bear with me for a second, guys. I'm going to log into a different account. The one we were just in, I like to show that because it has the launch checklist in it. But this one has more of my test stuff. Okay. Now, what we're seeing here with these cards, we're back into the Kvcore dashboard. The cards are business that's urgent. So this is basically what's bubbling up to the top. This is people that want to communicate with me right now. These are folks that have responded to some of the automation I've sent. These are brand new clients that have come in. What happens is they're going to show at the top. So if you've got that inbox, this is the stuff right at the top that just came in. Virtually everything that's come into you will be in here. And it's loaded in the bottom. So it's what's called first in, last out. So if I want to look at all the history of what's going on with this account, I can move down and I can see all of those. What we're looking at here, guys, these are the contact cards. So if I were to click in here, you'll see I launched that contact card. Now, the other place I can get to it, I'm going to close out of this and I'm going to show you a little bit of the navigation. Across the left-hand side, these are all the specific tools available to you within Kvcore. And where I got into this Christopher M. Cole guy, I can go over to my Smart CRM, to my all contacts, and we can do the same thing. Christopher is right there. I can find him. And you can see some of the hashtags associated with him. All right, guys. Now, I want to go back to there, make sure you understand where we're at. We're on the left-hand nav. I'm moving down under playbooks to Smart CRM. I'm opening all contacts. And from here, I want to show you this. See where it says add contact in the top right-hand corner? Remember, there was homework. This is the first piece of the homework, guys. If nothing else today, make sure you get that profile set up. Make sure that you get that set up within Kvcore, that you have it the way you like it. And make sure that you add yourself in here as a contact, okay? Go in, get your name, email, correct cell. By the way, important point, guys, none of this stuff will be monitored by us. By putting yourself in as a contact, you're not going to start getting advertisements from Kvcore or advertisements from Remax. This stuff is yours. It's only your account that you're working. You want to make sure to give yourself all the permissions to contact. Important point, guys. Now that we're in such a litigious world, there's lawyers just busy suing everything. And if there's a lawyer on the call, I apologize, guys. Don't sue me if there's a lawyer on here. But you want to set up yes for all of these. Give yourself permission to contact yourself. Get your street address in. Make sure that you have you've given consent. I would click it over to express. This just means that yes, this person gave you actual consent to contact them. All right. Set up the lead type. You can be a buyer and a seller. You can be buyer, seller, and renter if you want, but set up the type of lead that you are. I would say go buyer and seller. Lead status. You would be sphere. If you're putting yourself in, if you're putting your mom, husband, wife, etc., you're going to mark them as sphere. Lead source is a manual ad because we're adding this manually. Lead owner, you don't need to worry about it. It's going to default to you. Don't worry about campaign either, okay, or a lender. Now down here, guys, you can add a hashtag under where it says notes. If I want, I can say add a hash, and I can say neighbor. And that'll add as a hashtag for that contact. All right. Now, point being, get yourself in there, get used to how the system works, get used to how you add a contact in. If I were to walk through your door, I'm Chris Cole, first-time home buyer. This is where you add all my information. All right. Now, again, to make sure you know where we're at, we went down from dashboard. We're under smart CRM. We're under all contacts. When you have all your contacts in, this is an important takeaway, guys, where it says filter up here. So we're looking under the smart CRM. You see the word filters. Filters is how you move around your contacts. Now, we're not going to spend much time in here today. We're keeping it pretty basic, but know that you have the ability to search within all your contacts. If you're bringing in 100 to 30,000, you have the ability to search them. You can search things like, is this a buyer? Is this a seller? Perhaps I want to find all of my sellers. I want to look for sellers that have a phone number associated with them and they have an email. Obvious reasons. I want to be able to send advertisements to these guys. I want to be able to send them some lead gen ideas so I can contact them there. All right, we're going to close out of that. Takeaway is I want you to be aware that that's there. All right. Now, this is the point where I usually start getting questions. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I access this? Bottom right corner, guys, you're going to have a chat bubble. And the chat bubble is where you get real-time support via Kvcore. And very shortly, you'll get real-time support from Remax as well. So Megan, I'm not sure if we talked about this, but this is just coming live in the next couple of weeks. Basically, you'll have the support from our help desk group as well as the Kvcore folks, okay? So when we're doing these trainings, when you guys are doing these trainings, just remember the concepts. So remember that, hey, that Chris showed me a way to find my contacts that had emails and had phone numbers, but I don't remember how we got there. You can ask that question here in the chat bubble. You can open that up. You see the start chatting. You can ask the question and it helps you to get your answers. All right. Now we're going to drive into one of these contact cards and I want to show you what we're doing there. I want to drive into this one. This is the one I have the most work with. And here's what we're looking at, guys. So remember we saw the slide that had the four sections. That's what we're looking at here. So for all of your contacts that come in, they're going to have this contact card. It's broken into the left side is the contact itself. The top is navigation within the contact card. The middle piece is all the communication that I've done with this person. It shows me where they are in the pipeline, what they call the client journey. And over here on the right-hand side is how I communicate with people, okay? So to understand this a little bit better, it's my name. Guys, pro tip, anytime you see this pencil here, let me zoom in a little bit. No matter if you're in this platform or any other platform you're using, if you see a pencil, that just means that it's an editable screen. So it means you can click on that and you can edit from here, okay? So be aware anytime you see that out in the world. Here's what I know about this guy. I've got his name. I've got a phone number. That doesn't look so legit to me. Email address. That looks good. I've got a physical address. He's a buyer and seller. So this would be equivalent of someone you may have sold a home to 3 or 4 years ago. Hopefully you're going to want them on both sides of the deal, because when they move again, you're going to handle the sell and you're going to handle the new buy. I've got hashtags. Remember, this is the way I can clump people together. I can add a hashtag here simply by doing this. I can say, all right, this guy I know from, this is Bingo Chris. I play bingo with him. I can put that in. If I want to add that hashtag, I can enter. You see down here, I've got a bunch of hashtags in. I can add them. I can remove them very quickly. It's just that easy to put in my hashtags, okay? Down here is insights. I'm going to explain that in a moment. Contact validation. This is why this is called a smart CRM, guys. All right, point being, when a contact comes in, you've got something that comes in from remax.com. The first thing that happens is the system validates it. So it looks at this name. It goes, okay, that, there's a name. That name, does that match this phone number? No, not necessarily. That gets no stars. Does that name match this email address? Yeah, it does. I'm going to give that 2 stars. I'm going to up that level. And guys, this, you saw that I just changed it. The system will assign stars to your contacts, being it will tell you if it recognizes this as a good contact. In other words, does this name belong to that phone number, belong to that email address, belong to that address? By belong, what I mean is out in the world, you can see these as contacts on these web servers. So pretty much all of us have a file in the sky, and that's what we're comparing to. All right. So know that when you see stars associated with a new contact, that, hey, that was a validated contact. The system thinks that this is a good contact. Now, on the other side of that, if this comes in as Mickey Mouse and the email address is never email me at yahoo.com, it might still be a good contact. We're not going to trash it. We're still going to blow it through to you guys, because we always want to err on the side of it might be good. It's just a jokester, but there'll be no stars associated with it. Okay. All right. Now, an important point of what we're looking at down here, one, we can see where they came from. We can see, was this a bulk import? Was this a manual ad? Did it come, like in the case of this one, did it come from my website? Important point. Where it says make contact visible. The point of this, guys, is everything you bring in is private. As I mentioned before, when we were looking at the manual ad, we can't see your contacts. Admin at the company, at the brokerage, can't see your contacts. Kvcore cannot see them. None of us are going to be doing anything with your contacts. All right. They're not visible to us. Now, owned by you, you can make them visible. So if you want, you can say, yeah, I want to make this contact visible. Let's say you want to work with Megan. It's something a little more complicated. You want to set up some pay-per-click advertisement on it. You can make it visible so she can collaborate with you. All right. I can also transfer and I can share my contacts. So you guys get a contact, you recognize that, okay, it's good, but I don't have time to work on it, or I'm just leaving town. You can transfer it within your brokerage. All right. So you guys can play with this a little bit. You can look at what it, you can play with what it looks like when you send it to another agent within the brokerage. You can also share. So those of you that are not part of a team, you can collaborate. So if you want to share this contact, both of you will be seeing it. Both of you will be able to work in it. Okay. This middle piece, client journey, we talked about that earlier. I'm going to communicate some of the important points of that when we're talking about the right-hand side, but know that this is telling us where this deal is in the process. Now, caveat here, guys, as you're bringing in all your contacts, let's say you do bring in 10,000 contacts from 3 different places, some from your phone, some from Exchange, some from wherever. They're generally going to fall into prospect. And you're going to have to be spending some time to clean those up a little bit. So you go in and you go, oh yeah, this Chris Cole guy, that's my first cousin. He's going to be Sphere. I'm not going to do it, but I could easily move it over here. But know that when something comes in and it's a new lead to you, the system will mark it here. All right. Now down here is pretty much everything that I've ever done with this system. You can see I just removed some hashtags. The system's going to tell me I did that. I sent a text a couple weeks ago. System's going to tell me I did that. Right-hand side, guys, this is where the rubber really starts to hit the road. This is where we can communicate through the system. Megan, I'm going to go a little bit long. Guys, feel free to jump off if you need to. We're going to go another 10 minutes or so. I apologize for not respecting your time better. I get chatty sometimes. All right, guys. So on the right-hand side, this is where we conduct our actions out of the platform. And this is also why you want to abandon those other tools you're using and start using Kvcore. For instance, I can do a new call out of the system. I can call from my desktop. The system will keep a record of that call. I can send a text out of the system. So here I can look at one of the canned responses. Oh, I like that one. Good. I can send that. That text will show up on my consumer's phone, and I'll have a record that that text was sent from my system. I also have a record when they respond back. I have a record when they call back. And how nice is that, guys? Right now, somebody texts or calls back. You don't have a record of that in your CRM unless you go in and you manually add it. Let's say I run into them at Starbucks. I can add a note here that, okay, I ran into Chris, so met at Starbucks, wants to list home. CC lender, no. Pin to top. Yeah, I want that one at the top. I want that to always be there until I add to it. That'll show up here at the top here in a moment. Custom note. I can send emails through the system. All right. So I can send an email through here. It'll assign my signature block. Remember, we were talking about how important it is to get your profile in here. This is one of the first places where you recognize that it's being used. If they respond back, I'll have a record of it in the system. Voicemail drop, guys, this used to be called slide dial. This is available throughout the system, but this isn't one that Remax bought for you. In other words, you can use it. If this is part of your toolkit, if you want to leave a voicemail without their phone ringing, you can do this. But know that you have to pay a little bit extra to Kvcore if that's one of the tools you want to use. It's one that Remax felt wasn't that widely used. That's why we didn't apply it for you guys. Now, I say that to say this. The core video, this is included. 10 videos a month are included, and you can go unlimited. These are bomb videos, and you can go unlimited. I think it's $29.99 a month with Kvcore, but the 10 free are included for you to start using it. The way this would work, guys, if I hit the core video now, I could respond. So let's say this contact, this Christopher M. Cole, this came out of a Remax.com lead. I saw that it came in, he favorited a property. I can send a video and I can go, hey, Chris, I just saw your message. You're interested in such property. Yeah, I work in that community. I've sold a ton of homes out there. Can't wait to meet with you, talk to you in person. Give me a call back at this number. Boom. You send that video. Guys, the interaction with video is so much better than anything else you'll say. You'll be amazed. If you're not using it, play with it. Remember the homework of putting yourself, putting your wife, putting kids in there as a contact. This is one of the first places you're going to want to play with it a little bit, is send yourself a video. See what it looks like, okay? See the difference between using all of these tools from your desktop and from your application. Because remember, in your app on your phone, you have access to all the same tools. So start to use them, recognize how they work, recognize how they're going to leverage the smart number, and play with those. Get really comfortable with them, all right? Now, more actions that's underneath here and here. Core present, we can ignore this for now. More actions, think of this as some of the house cleaning that can be done within your contacts. So whenever we're talking about working in a CRM, we want to do things like, I want to add a task to it. This one's going through, this is Chris Cole, first time home buyer. I'm to the point where we're getting ready to close on a house, but I found that, hey guys, that patch in the bathroom, you patched it with toothpaste, fix that. So I can add tasks in there. I can share the contact. I can send evaluation. So let's say this is someone you worked with in the past. You can send them the evaluation, what their home's worth, follow that up with a conversation, okay? I can transfer, I can merge contacts. So let's say you've got 5 contacts that are basically the same person. You can merge those from here. You can unsub from both emails and texts. Now, this is an important point, guys. When you're testing this, hopefully later today, take a look at what happens on the consumer side. So basically anything you send out to your consumers, they can unsubscribe from on their end. What you see here, this is the ability as you, the agent, to unsub them. So maybe they came back and they said, you know, Chris, I lost my job. I won't be looking for a home for a while. Can you take me off your mailing list? And you can unsubscribe them from here, okay? Behavioral alerts. There's behavior alerts that are tied in with the system. Remember, we talked about birthdays, anniversaries. Those are some of those. You can shut those off from here. All right. All right, guys, we're in the home stretch. Now, remember we talked about some of the stuff that's smoke and not fire. These are smoke. If you look at these are Kvcore wanting to upsell you stuff. They can do a concierge service for you. You can safely ignore both of these, okay? Now down here, this is where we really start getting important. This is the first pieces of automation that we talk about. So let's say this came in. This came in from Remax.com. This person favorited a property. I can start sending alerts to them. So I can automate alerts. I can go in here, I'd name what the alert is. I can draw a polygon on a map. So basically what you guys do when you're looking for properties in your MLS, same kind of functionality. If I talk to Chris, he says, yeah, I got a dog. I'm taking care of mom. We need a ranch style home. You guys can go in and go, okay, this is a great neighborhood. This has some dog parks in it. It has a lot of ranch style homes. I can apply this selection and I can begin sending those alerts to this person. All right. Now, important part about this, guys, where you see the frequency, you're going to want to start setting these up for a lot of people. So first off, set them up for yourself. All right. Send yourself the alerts, see how they work, see how they look with your MLS. You can look at sending yourself one ASAP. You can look at sending these monthly. When I talk about things like working the backside of your database, those folks that you've sold homes to before, there's any number of people that are in your database that you can begin sending them alerts, and it will help you. It will, it adds value. So perhaps they bought in a neighborhood they really didn't want to live in. You can send them alerts on that neighborhood that they'd prefer. If you're mining your neighborhood, you can send them search alerts on your own neighborhood if you'd like. Let them know in real time what the properties are selling for, kind of that interest of getting people to maybe sell their homes, okay? All right, so that's property alerts. Important point on these guys, oh, sorry, I moved back too far, is when you send out the alerts, you'll get a record of all of the alerts that went out here in the body, and you get a record if they start responding. So I might send these alerts out to 50 people. Once they start to respond, not only do I get a record of it here, but the system goes, okay, this is no longer a new lead. This is an active lead. They are actively working with me. The system gives you, it throws up its hand. It gives you a notification that, hey, I got someone that went from new to active. So that's where you start to leverage some of the automation that's built in here, okay? All right. Following search alerts, you've got your market reports. Active campaigns, guys, we'll ignore that for now. This is a little bit more of an advanced topic, okay? Market reports. I can do the same thing. Let's say I'm marketing my neighborhood. I've got a bunch of people marked as neighbors. I can do market reports. I can send them to them. So if I want to add one here, I can search by location. I can throw in a zip code if I'd like. I can search by that. That's my zip code, by the way, guys. So you'd use your own. And I can send reports every 7, 14, 21, 28 days. All right. Same functionality. I'll get a record of them here. I get a record if they respond. All right. Down here at the bottom, we'll talk about Core Present in a moment. That's what we're going to close with. But I want you to be aware that we have listing valuation and seller reports. Okay. Listing valuation. Think of that. This is our version of the Zestimate tool, guys. Now, the caveat there is I don't think I've met an agent yet that hasn't had a bad experience with the valuation tools. Know that they're available to us. They do serve a purpose, but you want to follow up with a conversation. So these are not automated. You notice that this says update and send. It's because these are treated as one-offs. So I've got a address already here populated. It's the address that came in with this contact. So I can update the valuation and it'll send it off to them. All right. I'm going to have a record that happened here. Now, the reason I'm throwing out these warnings is when you send these, you want to treat it the same way as you do Zestimate. It's a good tool, but you want to follow this up with a conversation. So I would follow this up with, hey, Chris, I sent you a valuation of your home. It's interesting information, but those valuations, it can give you there's some promising stuff there, but give me a call and let's talk about it. Seller report. Seller reports were incredibly valuable when homes were on the market for more than 3 weeks. It was one of those that the seller wants to know, how many open houses did you have? How many eyeballs were on my system? So I want you to be aware that the seller reports are there. This is one that you want to play with when you get some real listings in here. Take a look at what they look like. But no, in this market, they're not as valuable as they will be until the market slows down a little bit. Okay. Now, guys, I'm going to close with this. I'm closing with our Core Present. The Core Present tool is the tool that has the CMA built into it. So know that I can create a CMA from here. It's the tool where I can send them on property tours. It's the tool where I can build my leave behinds. So the information about me, who I am, the stuff about my company. What we're going to do from here, and again, we're in an individual contact card. We're in Christopher M. Cole's contact card. I'm going to click add. I'm going to build a CMA for this person. Now, here's the point of this, guys. This is a higher level CMA. This is one where we can send them an electronic version of this tool, and we can also look at analytics, and I'll explain what I mean. So when we launch into the CMA, it gives me a default screen. It tells me, okay, these are the comps that are there right now. It gives me a mile radius for this address I put in. There's 3 total matches. I want more than that. I'm going to extend this to 3 miles. Gives me a radius. There's now 11 total matches. Perfect. You can see there's 1 active. There's 2 pending. There's 8 sold. Great. I love it. I can also add my own MLS IDs. Remember, when you guys are doing CMAs, when you're having the pricing conversation, you're driving that conversation. So you could go through and you'd be like, okay, this one's in here, but I don't really like this. It's 16% larger. I don't want that one in the comps. I'm going to remove it. You can look at these other hits. You can say this one, 40% larger. Yeah, that seems crazy, but it represents a pretty good idea of what this house is. I'm going to add that to comps, etc. Guys, you can make this conversation your own. All right, I'm going to move on. I clicked on the next build the CMA. This gives me an idea of what the tool is. So up here, it says, these are what we're looking at. This is the address. This is what a CMA is. These are my criteria review. Down here, it gives me the actual comps that I selected. Now, guys, important point here. The consumer can click on these just like you can. So if they see this one, most recent, 72 Rosemary Lane, they click on it, that MLS, the pictures, the card comes up, and I've got other comps that might match it. So from here, if you guys want, you can add these. You can star them. You can put those in as well. The consumer can look at those the same way. All right. Down here, oh, important point here, guys. If I want to add my own in, I can do that as well. So Aunt Susie worked for Keller Williams 10 years ago, and she's sure this house is worth $850,000. You can throw that in. Boom, add it in. There's our comp. Market assessment. Every one of these guys is viewable. I can see the underlying data below there. I can see what makes this a fresh market. I can see they're selling 21 days in this area, price rate of change plus 1%. You can begin to see where this is important information. So let's say, guys, you're marketing your neighborhood. So you've got your neighbors. You can actually build a CMA on your home, send this out to your neighbors. And let's say this price rate of change is something like 12%, 15%, not uncommon in your guys' area. The conversation would then be, I'm not sure if you guys were aware of this, but homes right now are selling for 15% more than asking price. They can look at the selling pace. You can have that conversation of, not sure you're aware of this, guys, but homes are selling for, they're selling in 2 weeks right now. So know that you can leverage this data in some other places. All right, I'm creating this presentation. And here's what we've got. This not only opens the library for you all, if it opens. Come on, tech, don't let me down. All right. So guys, one of the takeaways here is every one of you are going to have the same library. So if you look over on the left, all the slides that I can pull up here, you're going to have the same slides built into your platform, okay? This is just how I'm building out the CMA. I just clicked on one of the why am I the right fit, the about me. I can click on the what's your home worth. I can do the pricing misconception slide if I want. Just the takeaway is know that all of these slides are available to you as well. I'm going to present and share. At this point, guys, I can send them the link. I can email them this presentation. And here's the important point. If I go back into the platform, I'll see a record. If I emailed it to this contact, I'll see that I did email it. 2, I'm going to close out of this. I'm going back to the left-hand navigation. I'm going over to marketing. Under marketing, I'm going down to Core Present. This opens the full tool. So this is the tool we accessed. Now we're looking at the full version. Down here is every one of the CMAs I've ever sent. So one, I can tell if they opened it. Two, when I actually go into it and look around, I can see a heat map of exactly what they did when they were in the CMA. All right. So point being, I'm not just sending a CMA out into a black hole. I can see, did they actually open the thing? Did they spend some time in it? What comps were they looking at? So takeaway, guys, if you're using this and you're having the conversation of what is their home worth, you're meeting with this family in a few days. If you sent this out to them, it's really going to help you with that conversation. So you'll be able to tell, where did they spend their time? How much time did they spend looking at each one of the slides? And what exactly did they do when they were in those page views? Okay. So that's the CMA. And basically what we talked about there, folks, is we talked about the overview of the system, what's incorporated in the dashboard, some of the best practices, some of the things you want to avoid, some of the tools you want to use. We talked about the contact cards, pretty much all the pieces involved in the contact card. Okay. I know I went long. I appreciate everyone who stayed. Guys, any questions from here? Feel free to unmute yourselves if you'd like. Megan, anything that you saw that I missed that I should cover a little bit more?
No, I think you did awesome.
Thank you.
I think this was the perfect way to kind of backtrack and get restarted for anybody who missed it.
Yeah, Bobby, I see you had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple of them. Can you do mass updates, or do you have to do them individually? And if you have
can. Yeah, you
can
can. So yeah, so let's say I'm in my contacts and I want so first off, in the filtering, and I think this is what you're asking, but remember, I can search by a lot of different types. When I'm here in this screen, I can select all of these, and then I can go over to my more actions. So let's say that I recognize that, hey, all these guys, these are all my neighbors. I'm going to add hashtag, so I can add hashtags in mass. I can search in mass. I can clean up in mass. If I want to delete all of these, I can do that. But yes, from this top screen in my CRM, I can do a lot of selection. I can mass email, mass text, send them all video messages, etc.
What about duplicates? If you have duplicates,
now dupes are a little bit more difficult. So dupes, you can find them in here, of course, and you can delete one. So if I wanted to look for, if I'm doing some cleanup, and let's say I do see that there's two people in there, so this one and this one, and I know that they're just straight up dupes, I can click this and I can delete it from here. Generally with duplicates, you tend to work on those within the contact card. So, you want to look at them, you want to merge them, because a lot of times what happens with dupes is, let's say you added someone 10 years ago, they had a landline, and then you added them again with the cell phone, but maybe they both have a little bit different information, you want to keep it. But yes, you can do cleaning from a higher level where you can search them all, or you can do things like merge my contacts. Where's my merge? Merge.
okay. I got two more questions, and I'll make them quick.
Okay.
BombBomb. I use BombBomb, and I pay a lot more than the $30 a month. Now, yeah, but if you want to keep it on your regular email too, do you have to pay twice, or will they allow you to transfer that over?
Bobby, I don't know that answer. Megan, do you know? Have you gone that deep in BombBomb?
I haven't. I would probably assume you just cancel your subscription and then probably update it through here, because I would assume that it's probably an agreement that Kvcore, Remax, and BombBomb all together agreed on that price.
But then you'd have to do all your videos through Kvcore. So if you're on your regular email, you wouldn't be using BombBomb.
Yeah, I don't know that answer. Ask now. There's a couple ways to ask. So first off, ask in the chat bubble. So open up your platform and ask inside there. And you might, I doubt if BombBomb would be able to answer that question for you, but start with Kvcore and ask them. And you can also do, so kind of an important point on getting questions answered with Kvcore. You always start here at the chat bubble, but you can also reach out to IRE support and to Remax support, and Megan can help you. Megan can help you with that. But yeah, we can get you the answer. I just don't happen to know.
Okay. The other last and final question.
Yeah.
Your CMA, is that better, do you think, than Cloud CMA?
Well, here's what it is. I like it because it's integrated in the system. The better and worse, I always explain the CMA this way. Here's what it is not. This CMA is not the kind where I can go in. So let's say I've got a rural listing and I cannot find a good comp for it. I can go in with a lot of your tools. You can go in and you can say, all right, peel off 500 square feet, add a garage. You can start to manipulate it that way. This tool does not give you that kind of granular ability. This tool actually, as far as the conversation starter, as far as aesthetics, as far as being incorporated in the system, I think it's superior to anything else I've seen. So if the other tools are, if you're comparing aesthetics to aesthetics, what the consumer sees, then generally I think this one wins. When you're talking about the granularity, the ability to go in and carve away a bedroom, carve away a bathroom, add, you've done it. You've been in the business. It doesn't have that capability. So, but play with it. Add yourself in as a contact, start building them, get a feel for what it can and can't do. What I'm finding is most people that start to use this are abandoning those third-party CMAs that they were using.
But then it looks like you have to have, for all this marketing that's done by the program, that you have to have everybody's emails. It's not going to be, regular mail.
No, you can work through regular snail. That is possible, but yeah, generally in an electronic world, these tools are using now. A lot of this is text as well, but yes, you want either phone numbers or emails. So the answer to that is yes, but the tool does have available the postcards, the other tools that you can use. But yeah, when we're talking electronic, that's generally what we're dealing with, is the electronic media.
Okay.
All right, Bobby, anything else?
Nope. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anybody else, guys? Oh, I saw there was when do you believe a monthly newsletter platform will be available? It is available to use right now. And Megan, I sent you that. We don't have the one that's built like what we had with Bouge. That's not available. There are tools that you can leverage within Kvcore to build one, and we'll actually be having an advanced class as well. So in the advanced class, I'll show you some of the really easy ways you can start to build and send them. But the one that's built from corporate, where you attach to them, I don't have an idea of when that's coming back. I've heard that they want to repeat it because we've had so much, request from the agents, but I don't have any kind of timelines.
Chris, thank you. That was a perfect presentation.
Oh, Bobby, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
All right, Megan.
Well, if nobody else has any other questions for Chris, I think we should be good.
Good. Okay. All right, guys. Well,
I'll keep you posted as they let me know, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
All right. See ya.